Hey, first of all, welcome to the channel and thank you for all the support. If you like the video, click that like button, and if you don't mind, hit that subscribe. I appreciate all your support. I recently played Split Fiction with somebody close to me, and I wanted to drop my thoughts on our experience since I got my hands on it. This footage will be spoiler free and is captured with the PS5 from about the first parts of the game, and I've really been enjoying my time with it. Let's get right into the video. Split Fiction is an interesting game. It has good graphics for one, very stunning look to it. It doesn't take too long to drop you into action. If you liked It Takes Two, you'll probably like this game with a few caveats. I will be glazing this game a little bit. I like what they do, and I don't see anyone else in the space doing it, so they have a way of getting to me. The different settings and locations and areas sell this. The story is about two writers, and it goes back and forth between their worlds, one in a cold, technological type of cyberpunk cityscape, and the other character's story, it follows a type of wild woodland country forest fairy tale kind of vibe. The stark contrast between the worlds makes it fun because it constantly changes pace, and there are plenty of wacky things to happen as you go. The game came with a piece of literature that said something about being able to use an invite code to invite a friend to play with you, and they can without a copy of the game. I've since actually tried this and it works great. You just have the person you are playing with download the friend pass and you invite them to the game, and they can jump right into the game with someone who owns it. I think that sets a standard for what co-op games should be doing. I like the look of the game, it's stunning. The cinematic sequences between segments of game feel engaging, and you can tell the studio Hazelight spent a lot of time cultivating their next classic. It can have fast parts to it and slow parts, and it definitely will keep you guessing. Some of the puzzles and traversal and things like that, they aren't going to hand you the answer, but that's a good thing. It's even better if you're good with the controller. It's classic platforming at its finest, and it has plenty of colors in the different areas, and the characters change based on what environment they are in. Points to creativity here. I will admit that a bare minimum for games in 2025 is for them to look good, because most games that drop already look good, but the magic really is in the unexpected surprises that this game offers, and that's why with my gameplay I'm trying not to give too much away. The characters can be sort of shallow, especially at first. It's hard to come around to liking them, and their differences are pretty polar opposite, like usual, sort of reflecting the It Takes Two vibe. After playing a few hours, I came around to the characters more, but I could see if these characters missed the mark with some audiences though, just because they come off as empty, for lack of a better way to put it, and the pieces of their personalities are slipped in so subtly at different times, it's easy to miss. Mio and Zoe could have been a bit more fleshed out, but in my opinion, you don't really come to these types of games for deep character development anyway. I just mentioned that detail as it's a thing. It's just that they can be one-dimensional and the dialogue can be cheesy, but it's easy to overlook for what you're doing. This game gives off a very girl power vibe, but it's the only thing like this in its space, and if this studio put out a It Takes Two type of game every year, just like this, I'd buy it every time, and it would be for the gameplay. Because true one-of-a-kind couch co-op just doesn't feel as common anymore. When it comes to playing something with a friend that isn't so out of pocket, like for some reason playing through Resident Evil campaigns with a friend, trust me, I did it. This is at the top of my list of experiences digitally that I'd want to have, despite the fact it's linear. There are also a lot of callbacks to other games here, little references and Easter eggs that if you're an experienced gamer, I believe you'll enjoy. I will say this, the reason I say it helps if you're good with the controller is I think this is a touch harder than It Takes Two. Not by much, but definitely a noticeable amount. I'm not saying the game is hard by any means, but if you've heard in any other reviews that you gotta be careful playing with a loved one who doesn't play games, it's true. These games are great for doing things with friends or having an excuse to play with someone, but parts can be tough if you're not used to games. I've been playing for decades, so it didn't bother me, but I need to say that the camera control takes effort. If one person can get through parts of a level, it will usually teleport the other, especially in fast-paced moments, and that helps a ton. And they were nice enough to put some certain settings in there to make it a little easier, but there is no difficulty slider. This game is just like you expected when it comes to this studio. It encourages team gameplay and communication, which sometimes I'm not the best at either, and it punished me a little for it, here and there. That was completely warranted though. Like, you'll have to communicate timing with the person you're playing with, which I think makes these types of games in this genre fun to spend time with someone. But it's good about getting you back in the action and setting the health bar of bigger enemies like bosses lower to where you had it before as you jump back in after dying. I have a lot of patience with this sort of thing, but I had one of the people I was playing with yelling at parts. They said they'd need a full night's rest before they played this. Like Overcooked, if you've ever played that. How it demands your attention and also a level of motor skill and eye-hand coordination. I'm not saying this game is hard by any means, but the crowd that this type of game usually pleases could have a harder time than usual hanging with it. I also want to compliment this though. These sections can make you better, and you can see improvements in your gaming by pushing through things like that. I don't want to sound doom and gloom, but going against challenges is an endearing thing, and I think that design choice is commendable, but I'm interested to hear more opinions on it after the game gains a little more traction over time. Certain parts happen without being telegraphed too, but that's the fun of the game. You go in, and if something doesn't work and it kills you, try something else. You could be charging at something expecting to push through and could be missing something, or could be waiting for an attack to come and it just not be noticeable in certain instances. It's very overlookable to me, but to someone else it could not be. Like certain things are telegraphed and certain things aren't telegraphed. Games usually pander to a single player vibe, and it's very antisocial unless you're playing online, but local co-op with this is super the way to go. I wouldn't play this with someone who isn't familiar with the controller at all, but if they've picked up games a little and know how to work a camera kind of like you would be able to with FPS games, they should relatively be able to get it. It's lighthearted 2-controller sit down, is refreshing this year, and I really appreciate what they're doing. The sound design in Split Fiction is crazy. When big things happen, if you have a sound system, you'll feel it. I think we unintentionally pissed off our upstairs neighbors with the sound of the game just playing it, but it was so worth it. Speaking of pissed off, in this game they do use a bit of colorful language too. It wasn't offensive to me, and mostly my channel isn't kids anyway, but none of it was derogatory. But these characters will seldom toss out an F-word here and there when things get intense. If you aren't listening, you could miss it, but if you are listening entirely, it's totally there. Basically, just like the guy who was revealing this at the Game Awards was cussing when it was live. I am guilty of using a lot of colorful language in my videos just from being brutally honest. But usually with media like this, they're too scared to talk like people do in real life, which was funny, but I know there's a time and place for everything. But if you didn't know it was a thing, now you do. Also, aside from the soundtrack is pretty appropriate for each setting too, and some of it is really bumping. The game feels good to play, and some parts can be very funny as they put you in different situations. It's pretty intuitive, and it has some subconscious parts where if you feel it out, it can be pretty sick. Even though these types of games are on a track, what it has you do on that track is pretty fun. I don't think it was as innovative as It Takes Two, as they already have a footprint of what they're doing, but it doesn't need to be. I have to recommend this game for what it does as something you can play with someone else that demands you work together to progress through linearly. I really like the overall look of the game, and I think coming in at that $50 price point brand new is nice and fair for something that you can enjoy with someone else. Sit down and have a few laughs and game out. Once again, I wanted to thank you for stopping by. I've been Robot. This is a spoiler-free review by me. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe for seeing what I play next, and any kind of support a small creator gets. We appreciate that. Thank you so much.